All right. You guys need to help me out again tonight. Point the way.
I'm pointing.
You have all the answers figured out? Oh, point the way. We have everything figured out.
Yeah.
What a blessing that is.
No.
Well,
We
this
must
is
have done a better
for
job
this-
of teaching than we thought.
No. Okay, here's something is providing, I guess it's providing strength to those, like even yourself, even to Darlene, that are going through and holding on to their own faith, and those who are going through cancer, just trying to give them the hope, the strength that the trials that are in front of them, because like even what you talked about Sunday, and you look before you, you look behind you, and I just think it's hard sometimes to come up with the words to help somebody when they're going through different trials and when they're going through situations. And I just sometimes I fall short.
I think we all do. Anybody else find themselves in that situation, trying to help somebody, support somebody, and not know what to say?
I never know what to say.
You tell them that you're supposed to have faith, and that's sometimes to them that's like, yeah. I know that you're not telling me something I don't know, but it's like going to a funeral, going to a visitation. I'm sorry, and
All right, so what should we say?
I don't know. He brings you to it. He'll bring you through it. But gosh darn, you feel like sometimes like a broken record.
Not that we have to go there, but we've talked a lot about Job, and you remember the three friends that came to visit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were very supportive. And I'm looking for a specific verse here when they come to see him. But they were supportive, but all of a sudden they started asking him questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they started, I don't want to use the word arguing with him, but they were just constantly, they turned it into a debate. And in some ways, they made it worse than it was before, because they got him to start thinking about his situation. So I think we can learn something from that. Okay, go to Job 2 here. I found it. Job chapter 2.
Okay.
And start at verse 11.
Verse 3
11.
and verse 11.
Job chapter 2, verse 11.
Oh, verse 11. Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
When Job's three friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamanite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with them and comfort him. Okay, good so far, right?
Mhm.
So they're going to go visit their friend and try to offer him comfort. The same thing that we're talking about here, right? Verse 12, when they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. And here's the important verse, 13. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering. I honestly believe the best thing we can do is exactly what these guys did here, at least in the beginning. Go to sympathize and comfort and sit in silence and just listen. Not try necessarily to offer advice, not try to fix the problem. We all want to jump in and try to fix things. The best piece of advice I ever got was this exact same thing from a pastor who said, Brad, do not try to fix anybody. That's God's job. The best thing you can do is sit there and listen. Many people in this situation may not want to talk, but that's okay. You can sit in silence with them. You're still showing your support for them. But at the same time, B, there are a lot of people in this situation who simply want to express themselves and make their feelings known without feeling like you're trying to run in and fix things. And these guys, I think, did the right thing for a week. But then as you go later on through the book, then they started with the questioning and the debating and the answering. And in a sense, they made things worse than they were before.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my advice was don't go in with a preconceived idea of what you're going to say. Just go in with an attitude of, look, I'm here to support you. I'm here to help. And most of all, I'm here just to listen if you want to talk. There's all kinds of books. Like we got a book here. Is that coming out backwards or can you read that okay?
No, I can read it.
A hospital visitation manual. And it's got all these suggestions and advice, but also a lot of Bible verses. Well, yeah, we know that Bible verses are important, but maybe that's not the right time or place. I just happened to turn this book open and it says, supportive ministry is often patient, quiet listening, allowing the patient's own resources and strength to emerge. So I think mostly what people want to know is that you are there for them, that you care, and that you're going to give them an opportunity to express themselves. And I don't think you have to go in with a list of Bible verses and things written down. Oh, I want to make point A, B, and C. I don't think necessarily you have to do that. You guys have heard Pastor Randy's story, haven't you, about going to the hospital for the first time?
No,
Yeah.
no.
The very first time he went to the hospital solo, the lady was in a bad way and probably dying. So he went in and read all these Bible verses to her. And when he got done, she said, "Do you feel better?" And he said, "Well, the point was to make you feel better." Said, well, I hope you feel better because that did nothing for me.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Honesty.
The point is not to overwhelm people with Bible verses. I mean, if someone asks about something, certainly we can bring that into the conversation, but just to be there, to hold a hand, to pat a shoulder, and to listen to what the other person's going through. I think in many ways, that's the best way we can handle those situations. Thoughts? Go to
Good points.
13. So if you run into that situation, don't try to fix anything. We can't fix anything. Just be there to listen. And silence can be very powerful,
Oh, yeah.
even when you're sitting with someone. We always feel like we have to fill up the dead air. We don't necessarily have to do that. Be still and know that I am God. And remember that God is in the whisper, not necessarily in the earthquake or the lightning or the thunder. Thoughts about that, or do we want to continue on with that or go in a different direction?
I know there's one thing, I guess you could use it, say it's a tactic, that when I've had to go see someone and I really felt like I should go see somebody, even though that was the last thing I wanted to go do. But there've been several times when I've just started talking to him like it's just another day. How you doing? Hey, you know who I saw the other day? That kind of thing. And usually it's not so stressful for them because everybody's not sitting there feeling sorry for them or treating them like they're just, they know they're dying and everybody's walking on eggshells because they're dying. But it's worked sometimes like that. And it seems as if once they start talking, then they'll talk about things, the real seed of the problem. You understand what I mean?
I completely agree with that. The times I was doing hospital chaplaincy and had to go in with bereaved families, I mean, that's really hard. You have no idea who they are. They have no idea who you are. And here you are walking in on them in the worst possible moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so you sit there and everybody's sniffling and crying. And one thing I always found very helpful was, you know, well, tell me a little bit about him. Where did he grow up? How did you guys meet? And then all of a sudden they start talking about good times and things that they shared. And all of a sudden now they're opening up and talking a lot more. And so you're kind of building trust between you and them. And I honestly believe people in that situation do not want to hear platitudes or Bible verses, or I honestly believe all people want to know is that somebody else cares. And just the fact of your being there is an indication that you care. So it's kind of interesting. In a way, it's kind of similar to jail ministry. I know guys that go in there and they have these workbooks that they go in there and they go through and all right, now we're going to do this chapter and this chapter. I just go in and say, where are you guys? What do you want to talk about? you got things going on in your life. I'm not here to push any agenda. I'm just here to listen to you. And that means a lot, I think, you know, that somebody would take the time just to come and listen. And it works the same way in these bereavement type situations. So yeah, I agree completely that you can just talk about anything.
I was just, when we're talking about this, I was thinking of the instances when a tragedy occurs and people's total strangers come to the site and drop off these bouquets of flowers, and it just goes on and on. There's huge piles of flowers. And I sometimes think, well, is that for the person who suffered this tragedy, or is it for the person that brings them?
I think I actually think that's a reflection of what we're talking about. People don't know what to do, and they don't know what to
But
say.
they don't know the person. They have no interaction with the person. So it's to make the person who brings the flowers feel better rather than.
Right. You're thinking about like when a movie star or something dies.
Well, or just
An accident along the
thing that's
road, you
in the
mean, like
news.
something like that?
Yeah.
Some of it is wanting to be a part of the situation. Like, you know, when Princess Diana got killed and all the
Yeah.
I think part of that was I want to be a part of this, and I want to take part in it. And that, I think, was a lot of the flowers and things like that. Now, if it's just somebody relatively anonymous, I would still say that that's a reflection of
But you
it
see
makes
it
me
happen
feel
like
like I'm doing something.
a child gets hit on a bicycle and that the site or the child was hit, they start piling up all these flowers, and often it's total strangers, and they don't ever really interact with the person or the parents, or
But
I
I
don't
think
know.
it goes a little both ways, because it probably makes that person that's giving the flowers feel somehow connected to a tragedy, and that they want to let the people that are suffering because of the tragedy to know that other people feel for them. So they can't talk to them or visit them, but they can take a teddy bear or a flower or a cross and put it at the side.
I agree with that. My ethereal glow is back for some reason.
Oh,
Yes. Now it's even flashing. Oh, there.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. For some reason, in the midst of all this, my mind just flashed to the people that hang on to death anniversary dates.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they put an ad in the paper, or
Oh,
you see a thing on their car or truck, or they'll put something out by the side of the road if it was an accident. What do you think about that? What do you make of that?
Neat.
I never thought about it.
I see a lot of people on Facebook that do that. And it's like, if you would leave it alone a little bit, you'd probably get over it a lot quicker. But it's like they're still dwelling and dwelling and dwelling. Do you understand
Maybe
what
they
I'm
don't want to get over it.
Are they
Maybe they don't
dwelling,
want to
or
get over
are
it.
they still paying?
Well, we've all experienced loss. Is anybody holding on to that extent?
Well, okay, so my father died the day before I was born. So every birthday, the day before my birthday, I always remember that my father died on that day. Now, I never met him, obviously. And at that time, you'd ask relatives about him, and they'd say, what do you want? What do you want to know that for? Well, gee, he's my father.
We weren't a real touchy-feely family.
They didn't share things like that. So, but I don't do it, and I always say a prayer, uh, just because. And it's not that I'm digging up an old wound or paying homage to a death anniversary, but it's so, if it was some other day other than the day before my birthday, I probably would not think of it as it passed. But because it's so connected, I do. But it's not morbid. It's not, I'm not feeling sorry for myself or feeling a loss all over again or anything like that. So,
I understand that. I get it. But some people do take it and they have a very, very difficult time with it.
well,
I
I think
do.
you have to go on with your life. If, you know, so say it's your husband or wife that dies, you still have a life. God's left you on this, in this plane to continue on, and people that get wrapped up in the loss don't continue to live their life. So I don't think that's good.
I'll be honest. I struggle on the anniversary of both of my parents, both of them. I lost my father, and it's been 21, maybe more than that. He died in 97 in a horrible farm accident. Gary and Linda would know about it because they're family, close family. And it was horrible to go through. It was horrible to see my mother go through, and as his children. And to this very day, when it comes around to that time in January, I will sometimes, not every year, I will remember exactly where I was. I will remember that I heard it on a scanner and didn't know it was my father. I will remember that I walked into the house and I'd gotten Steve a scanner, and here he's telling me, and I said, I want to say a prayer for that family, for whoever is in that grain bin. I didn't know I was saying a prayer for my father. I didn't know I was saying a prayer for my own family.
And you remember that, but you still have gone on to live
but
your
that's
life.
different. No, but it was so hard for me.
Yeah.
It was so hard for me to move forward. Now, my mother, she was solid as a rock, but because she had 5 children, she would not. She only cried once that I ever saw. And my brother and I held her when we first had to go in and see my dad, and she collapsed in our arms. And then we had this funeral at the church. But you know what? To tell somebody, you know what, you got to move on. And I had people tell me that. You don't. I'll move on when I'm ready to move on. And that may never, ever, ever happen. Because the loss of him was so deep and so profound to our family. And then everything that my mom had to do after that. And then losing my mom to cancer, to a rare breast cancer. And I watched her walk through hell to get into heaven. And I would sit there and just try to be quiet. And I wrote about it, and it was just hard. And I remember that date every year. I remember the night that right before she died. And you don't get some of those things ever out of your mind when you're sitting there with somebody. And I practically almost collapsed after all of that. It's just not that easy for everybody to do that. So if somebody's got that there on the back of their car and they're remembering someone who's passed away, I don't care. That's
Yeah.
their business.
Mhm.
And if they have that on there for the next 50 years, I don't care. If that helps them get through it, then do it.
I
Because
think,
I will post, you got to do what you can do to get through that.
right. And I think this kind of circles us back to what we were talking about in terms of, instead of going in and trying to fix somebody by
You
saying,
can't fix it.
you've just got to move on, you've just got to get past it. That's kind of like the advice the three guys were giving Job.
Mhm.
And so this is one of those situations where it would be helpful to just have someone say, you know what, if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to listen.
Yep. I'd rather hear I'm sorry, I'm there, but don't ever tell me I'll get over it.
Have you
Because
had an opportunity to talk through it?
to talk through it in what way?
Well,
I think I just did.
tell that the emotions are still there. Do you still feel like there's value in sharing this to help yourself?
Mhm.
I don't know. Everyone in our family is a little different about it. I probably am the more sensitive one about it, and I know I went to college. I used the money from my parents' estate, and I went to college on it. And I know my mom and dad would have both been very proud of that. That I furthered my education. I took a course you have to take I took a writing class, a creative writing class, and I was able to do some writing, and that helped me out a lot. But I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever deal with it all.
That's so important, though, for us to realize that there is not a one size fits all solution.
Right.
That's exactly right.
I have seen people, and I've seen it happen in my own family, where you go to a funeral and then as soon as it's over, people are looking at their watches. All right, what time is lunch?
Mhm.
You know, time to get on with things. And some people can't do that.
Mhm.
And we all react differently. And I think what you shared is extremely important and valuable for all of us. What we try to do is, and this is exactly what happened with Job and his friends, what we try to do is impute our values and feelings onto the other person.
Mhm.
Well, this is what I think, and this is the way I would be feeling. So you should be feeling this way too.
You don't know how you're going to feel.
You don't know until you've walked a mile in those shoes.
Well,
Right.
that's
Really. You don't know.
That's the point. But if we're talking about, trying to go in and comfort someone, I think that lesson, and then the lesson of Job and his three friends, reminds us that we have to try to step out of our perspective,
Mhm.
our preconceived ideas, because the worst thing you could do is go in and say, well, this is how I handled it when I went through something like this.
Yeah.
And,
They have to handle it in their own way.
and that's very, very hard to do, because we go through life looking through things with our frame of reference. And so we try to kind of push that frame of reference onto other people, and it doesn't always work.
No, we're all different. We're all geared differently. And I think it's just respecting everyone, that they may not do it in the same way that you may, and that you have to be sensitive and respectful of everyone. Because I know when Mom was sick, and and my dad's sisters were, everybody was wanting to come visit and all this kind of stuff, and she was like, where were you a year ago? I don't feel like talking. I'm a month away, and she was in the process of saying no more treatments, and now everybody wants to rush right in and say, I'm going to miss you and all, whatever they do. And she's like, no, I just have my
Well,
children.
I think again, that might be more for them than for her.
And that could be, but she wasn't, she didn't, she was the type that says, I just need my children. She just wanted her children.
Did she
And
did others respect that?
not necessarily. You will always have, there are always those who that will just show up, and you just deal with it. And but it was just kind of because we all took care of her. We never put her in a she never went into a nursing home, and I was able to take my work with me, and we all I and two sisters, and we just pretty much gave our time completely to her, and we took care of her, and I have absolutely no regrets. And I got a bad back now, but I remember that pain I have, and it's like, yep, it's okay, Mom. And I do it all over again. I do it all over again.
In the midst of difficulty, that is a good feeling to know that you did what you felt like you were called to do.
And we found laughter. My mother was the type that every time she went to treatments, she always had to have a joke. She always had, because she went to the Benesse Center, she always had to find laughter, because as her attitude was in life was, it is what it is. And we've heard that saying. That was my mother. It is what it is. You just deal with it and go on. And that was her. She was stoic. And she told us, she says, you are not to cry. You're better than this. And my younger sisters, oh, guys, look at that. Awesome.
One of my mottos.
And that was my mother's. It is what it is. Oh my gosh. We heard that so many times. And my younger sister said, I am going to cry. I'm going to tell you that right now, Mom. So just accept it and deal with it. She goes, all right, you can once. But we had to find things to really laugh about, and we did.
Well, that does bring up a good point, though. What about the person who just shuts down and says, I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to be around anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. Or were you helping them by allowing them to do that?
I don't think you're helping them, but she just kept it to us, and she allowed me to write her. Well, I wrote both Dad's and hers for the funeral, and she actually was laying there as I was talking to the grandkids and was listening to some of it, and which is kind of strange, but I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to take up everyone's time.
No, I don't feel that way. This is all very helpful and insightful, I think, because we're talking about dealing with a very difficult situation. You can go to seminary and take classes on this kind of stuff, but nothing ever prepares you until you get in there.
No,
and are sitting with somebody. I think I may have told this story before. Again, I got called into the hospital one time, and it was a young couple. I don't think they were married. They couldn't have been more than 19 or 20. She was 8.5 months pregnant. They were driving somewhere in their pickup truck with a mattress in the back. And he got the brilliant idea, we're going over bumpy roads. You should go back there and make sure that mattress doesn't fall out.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So she went back there and she got knocked out of the vehicle.
Oh, my God.
So they brought her to the hospital, and turns out it was a stillborn. So now she's got to go ahead and deliver this baby that's dead, and go through all that pain and everything. And again, you're thrust right into the middle of this. What do you say? How do you handle it? And again, I think the most important thing is just being there.
Mhm.
And
That's the best thing you can do right then, is not to say anything, just be
Yep.
present.
we did
I
talk
will
about
share
it.
this. One of the things that Major Hospital and Vicki Coons is very involved, and it was the best thing that ever happened for me, by losing Steve and I losing 5 children, is they have something at Christmas time, and I think it's about the first week in December.
I did that one year. They asked me to go out there and speak. I did that one year.
You did. You was there the first year I was there. I remember that because I hadn't started going to Zion yet. And they had these angels. You had a piece of paper and you walked in, they gave you a rose and they gave you an angel, and you were to write your child's name. It was for those who, it didn't matter if it was stillborn, at what point at time that you lost that child, that baby. And I remember I took my angel with me, and actually I took 5 of them. And I wrote each one of my children's names on that. And Vicki, and then I remember Brad, he spoke. And because Andy Long and his wife, they sang. And just it was just very, the lighting was very low. And it was the first time to be with others who has lost a child, because Vicky's daughter was there. And, we didn't all sit together. We just kept our little spots. But I actually felt that I wasn't alone. And then what they did, Vicky, there was these beautiful angels on this Christmas tree. And she had us to come up and got in a line and stuff, and came up there, and you were to take an angel for your child. Well, I went up there, and Vicky told me, and she gave me a big hug, and I was, of course, just tears just running, as they can easily happen. And she goes, Deborah, she goes, I want you to take one for each one of your babies. And it's like, oh, no. Because then I'm like, oh, I can't do that. And she goes, no, you are to do that. And I did. And when I took off of there, I said their name. And it's like, all I could do was hold them so close to my heart, and then go sit down. And when I'm walking over there, all these other mothers are sitting there holding their own. And, when it was over with, they could have refreshments. I didn't stay for refreshments. I just needed to, leave. But knowing you're in there with others, because nobody knows what to say. And at that point, we didn't have to say anything because we understood. You understood each other, because it didn't make any difference whether you, as the lady who was on the mattress and got thrown off and had to give birth to a stillborn, or whether that baby died a week later or during pregnancy. That child was in heaven. And
Go to 2 Corinthians 1 here, starting at verse 3. Second Corinthians 1, starting at verse 3. And this speaks exactly to what you just said. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles. So why? That we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. There is your biblical admonition for the support group. And that's basically why we gather as Christians. Not just to praise God and worship God, but to come together that we may comfort one another with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. That's what we do on Tuesday nights. That's what we do on Thursday nights. That's what we should be doing, in a sense, on Sunday morning. That people should be able to come and receive comfort, knowing that everybody sitting in the sanctuary is a sinner. And we all need help, and we all are walking through this together with the comfort we have received. And that's why that experience was so powerful for you. It's the same thing with any support group, and especially any spiritual support group. To know that others have gone through this, the same thing that you've gone through, and that they are willing to be open and honest and talk about it. I truly believe that's one reason why God walks us through suffering in some situation, so that we can share that experience with others and comfort them with the comfort we have received from God.
I agree.
And the fact that you're willing to be out and share your experience and talk about it, that's what we're all called to do as Christians.
Oh, it took me a long time. I mean, my oldest child would be 40 years old. So it's taken me many years.
Well, the potter continues to shape the clay.
Yep. And that's like you had in that picture. Yep. I am the clay.
And sometimes it does take a long time. And
I enjoy doing that's because I enjoy doing the laundry love. I so enjoy it. You know, talking to that Amanda and just being able to, you know, because she didn't know anything about laundry love, and you know, she was just blown away by it, you know, that we're doing this. And it's like, no, we're here to, it's a service outreach, it's a Christian outreach. And I said, you know, if I can do this for you and to help you, I said, you can then pay forward to somebody else sometime in your life.
And what you
Just
did,
may need you.
and what you're talking about, and what others have done, I honestly believe is worth 100 sermons of what I could preach.
Oh, it was, because she was just like, and so like when we was getting ready to walk out and I asked Darlene, I said, why don't you move your vehicle a little closer so we can carry this every day? And Amanda, she was a stockier lady. She goes, I got that. And she walked over and picked it up and she carried it right out there to Darlene's vehicle. and I'm just like, oh, wow. Okay. And I just thanked her. I wanted to give her a hug, but I was wearing my mask and everything because I'm just so afraid of bringing something like that back into my house. But we talked and just everything that was going on. And I gave her our pamphlet on the church and on laundry love. And I just, I can tell that she needs something. She's hurting because of her husband left and she's got another woman pregnant and all this kind of stuff. So she's just going through a mess, and she's got a child who's got disabilities. So
well, it'd be great if she came to church, but that's not the point. The point is putting a face on God's love. And
that's exactly right.
And that's what I said. You can hear the greatest sermons from the greatest preachers in the world, but people want to see a human face on it, and they want to see it in action. They don't want to just hear the words.
Yep. So I've got her. I need to write down her number so when it comes back, because I know her father had a heart attack, and so in Texas, so she was heading to Texas to go take care of him. And So I wanted to get back with her, just see how things are going and keep track of her. So when she comes back, just to, I don't know, I just feel like she needs something. You know, you get those feelings about people that they need something. But it was just nice talking to her. I enjoy doing that with people.
Well, that's what we're supposed to be in the business of doing. We can sit and talk about this stuff all day, but at some point, the rubber's got to hit the road, and that's where you're gonna meet people where their needs are.
And even Linda helped us out the other night too. I really appreciate that, Linda, you helping us out yesterday.
This Linda, our Linda, or a different Linda?
Our Linda, yeah, because we was running a little short and we all met on Sunday. So we kind of roped her in there and she's like, sure, I'll help you guys out. And she came in and helped us out there. So we almost had Susan, but Susan came and visited Darlene and I. So
I came for give you moral support.
yes, you did.
Susan wanted to make sure you guys were doing your jobs.
Yeah, that's what she had.
Sure, right, yeah.
It was
I
like
remember the job is.
it was like the foreman coming in to check and make sure.
Make sure they're present.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'm sorry for talking all night. Everybody else has things to talk about. So
doesn't bother me at all.
I apologize to the others.
Hey, honey, he when I was in my worst time, he gave a whole Bible study night for me to just sit in there and cry.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay.
I wish I had that on recorded.
Watch it, Brad. Watch
bet
it.
you
See that
do.
finger? That's for her.
It's like the Brady Bunch. I don't know who's in what square.
Yeah, the Brady Bunch. I grew up with them.
Well, that's where we're trying to get to with this. That if somebody comes on here and says, you know what, I really need to talk about something. Well, then that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. I guess I needed to talk about that because Amanda was on my mind a lot, and I'll be honest, I talked a lot with Darlene, and she's just really, I could tell that she's worried about you, Brad.
Mhm.
Don't believe
is
everything
worried.
she says.
Well,
Don't.
I'm sorry. She's your wife. She loves you dearly, deeply, and she's worried.
Don't make me cry. That's
I'm not trying to make you cry.
not a good thing.
But that's what brought me in, because it's like I just felt like I wasn't sure what to say, and I was trying to help her, but sometimes I felt like I was saying too much. So that's the reason I brought her up tonight.
No one can ever talk out of turn here. There's no topic that's off limits. There's no time limit. You know, that's why we're here. Because this is the kind of stuff, you know, when you come to church, you kind of are thinking about these things, and then some boob stands up in the front and talks about something for 20 minutes, and you kind of go home and you don't feel good because none of your questions were answered. That's what this is for. This is a forum to talk about that kind of thing. So that's why I said that one time. I'm perfectly happy to have anybody interrupt the sermon or ask a question or why are we doing that or what does that mean? Speaking of which, before I go into this next part, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here because it's about that time anyway. Let me go ahead and cut it off.